Welcome in Merrifield Sportsbook Show. It is Sweet 16 Elite 8 weekend. Folks, the basketball has been quite great. It's your usual cast of crew here. Matt Merrifield, Justin Walsh, Jada Coster, myself, Nick Burt. Jada Coster, how are you doing on this evening? We are late to recording because you were doing a playoff game in college football 26, I believe. So please give us an update. How did that go this evening?
Didn't go great. Lost 28-14, but whatever. I just don't really care at this point because we got people just run trick plays, and my defense isn't good enough. So, but I'm ready to talk basketball. I don't really care. Football's long gone.
What is Foo State's biggest priority in the transfer portal this offseason, Coach DeCoster?
Defensive backs, and no close, and linebackers, and probably going to get a new quarterback because he's declaring for the draft. So that's how my night went. So he threw like 4 picks too. So
that sounds an awful lot like another college football team that we all know and sometimes love.
I'm done with that game in general. I'm getting sick of playing it, to be honest. It's like I'm just ready for baseball and basketball to talk about. So,
Matt Merrifield, how are you doing on this Tuesday evening?
My body is not handling the lack of basketball the last 36 hours very well. As whatever ungodly virus is going around, I blame the students at my brother's school for getting him sick and then in turn getting me sick. So that's where I'm at, if I sound like shit or worse than usual. But I would have to agree with you, Nick. We had a great weekend of basketball, and we have a rare opportunity where we have a great first weekend and a great second weekend. The Sweet 16 slate is the best we've had in a while, I think, in terms of name brands and also just good basketball teams. So can't wait for a great weekend, even though there was terrorism across the bracket in this opening weekend. But it's okay. It's okay. It's just we're doing just fine.
We are doing indeed just fine. Jay Walsh, how are you doing this evening?
Doing all right. Obviously, looking forward to Sweet 16 talk. It was definitely a very interesting first weekend of the NCAA tournament. Obviously, the first round, not a ton of upsets. People were kind of whining and complaining that there weren't a lot of big kind of earth-shattering upsets. And then the second round saw Florida get knocked out and a first 4-11 seed team make it to the second weekend. So I think we have a good, healthy mix of some good upsets that have happened so far, but we have a lot of really, really good basketball teams left in this tournament. So I think it's going to be really, really good games to watch from here on out. So definitely looking forward to the rest of the tournament.
All right, let's get straight into it. We'll be region by region here. We're going to start out in the West region. Your Sweet 16 matchups on Thursday will be Purdue versus Texas, as was just mentioned. Texas, your team that started out in Dayton that have made it to the Sweet 16. Feels like it's a yearly occurrence. At least one team does that. And your other game is the top seed Arizona taking on Arkansas. Matt, I'll go to you first here. Your thoughts on what we have coming up on Thursday and who potentially finds their way to Saturday and then who finally figures out their way to Indianapolis.
Yeah, I think in terms of betting the spread, I like the underdogs in both of these games, and Texas getting 6.5 and Arkansas getting 8.5 is a big spread, in my opinion, considering Arkansas has the best player in this game, and Darius Acuff. As if you had been watching college basketball the last month, you would have already known this coming in. But for the rest of the world to see how good he is the best point guard in the country. As much as I love Jeremy Fears, Darius Acuff can take over a game like no other. And considering for Arkansas, they have John Calipari, one of 5 great all-time coaches coaching in this weekend. And I like Tommy Lloyd. I think Arizona has still has the juice to go all the way this year. I'm sticking with my national championship pick, but Tommy Lloyd's 0-3 all time in the Sweet 16, just straight up. His record's 0-3. John Calipari is one of the best coaches to do, especially once he gets to the second weekend. Usually his issue is getting out of the first weekend, it feels like, and then takes care of business. It felt like when he was at Kentucky, they were constantly playing in the Elite Eight. So I think Arkansas's got enough in the tank to keep this one close. Unfortunately, their 6-man rotation, I think, might catch up to them. There is a serious lack of depth on this team. The 6 guys they have are absolute dogs. But I think Arkansas covers, but I still think Arizona moves on. Purdue and Texas. Purdue has no excuse in this game, even though I still think Texas will cover because they're just the hot hand. They're playing decent enough basketball, even though they played putrid against BYU. BYU was just that much worse on Thursday last week. But I think Texas just keeps the roll going. Purdue doesn't really have that vibe to me, that killer instinct to put this game away. So as much, I think the 2 favorites still pull away and win, but we're going to have 2 close games in the House of Macklin Celebrini on Thursday night.
Jay, I'll go to you next here. Kind of your thoughts here on this West region. Who's making their way to Indy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with Matt as well. I mean, it's just no excuse for both these teams. I mean, Arizona does kind of scare me a little bit because Utah State was definitely in that game for long stretches, especially late, but Arizona ended up pulling away. But I mean, Utah State's got talent, but I mean, Arizona, I mean, that's going to be a very, very fun basketball game. Darius Acuff, and then you got Arizona's squad who's favored to win it all, so it should be a lot of fun to watch at 9:45 Eastern, the late slate. And we got Illinois, Houston with that as well. We'll talk about that, but yeah, I mean, I like Arizona in this spot. It's gonna be fun to watch Acuff, but I think Arizona can end up pulling away, and then Purdue as well. I mean, yeah, it's just Purdue's just a more talented team. I know they kind of struggled in the first half with Miami, but ended up pulling away. I mean, yeah, they're just clicking on all cylinders right now. I expect Purdue to kind of roll through here and cover the spread. Should be 2 entertained basketball games regardless. But yeah, I mean, they got the hot hand, but I feel like they'll just end up running out of gas. So I think Purdue and Arizona should walk away with this pretty handily.
Jay Walsh, I'll go to you next here. Who out of this regional is making it to Indianapolis?
These are going to be 2 interesting games for kind of different reasons. In terms of the first game that we're looking at here, Purdue, Texas, I said kind of beforehand, I don't necessarily really believe in either of these teams just because obviously, I mean, Purdue has the reputation of losing to double-digit seeds in March. I do think that they have kind of exercised those demons a little bit. And as Jay kind of mentioned, this team is playing hot at the right time. They obviously ended the season on a little bit of a run getting that Big Ten tournament title, and they've looked good so far in the tournament. But then they are going up against a Texas team that just looks absolutely red hot right now. Ordinarily, I don't think this would be a super tight contest because I do think Purdue is just a better team than Texas, but obviously momentum is everything. It'll be interesting to see how Texas comes out in this game after the week-long break here. I am going to lean Purdue here just because, like I said, I do think that they're the better team, and I think they have – Matt Painter has exercised those demons a little bit with those double-digit seeds, so I think they make it to the Elite Eight. In terms of the second game, I think this is kind of a classic example of Arkansas has the best player on the court, but Arizona is the much better team. I think Darius Acuff is phenomenal, but I've sung my praises of Arizona all year. I think they are just such a deep, talented team. They can kill you in a variety of ways. I mean, I was watching that game that they played in the round of 32, and I mentioned it to you guys. I mentioned it on, I actually tweeted it out. I thought in the second half, the refs were getting a little too egregious with trying to keep Utah State in that game. I think they were letting them kind of do whatever they wanted, and Arizona still almost covered that game. It was a final second dunk from Utah State away from covering that game. So I think this Arizona team is just too good for Acuff to single-handedly take down. So I'm going to go with Arizona there, and then Purdue, Arizona. I think that'll be a really good game. I'm going to go with Arizona. I've made it clear they're my national championship pick. They're just too good. They're too deep. Purdue is at best kind of a three-man show. And I think Arizona has the talent to withstand those three guys, and top to bottom, they're just a better team.
I'm still going to roll with my pick when we did our preview show, and that is Arkansas. I think Acuff is just on a heater right now. Arkansas is one of the hottest teams in college basketball. It feels like, we saw them steamroll basically through the SEC tournament. I believe their last loss was against Florida back at the end of February, but since then they've kind of rolled through there. Now this is going to be their toughest test since they played Florida. And if you kind of look at their schedule, the teams that they lost to this year, Michigan State, Duke, Houston, Kentucky, Alabama, Florida, and then Georgia and Auburn are there too. But you look at those, and those are obviously bigger names that they played this year, and they didn't win those games. I think their biggest win this year was against Texas Tech, and that's when Tech was healthy. But as of right now, Arkansas is just too hot. I don't trust Arizona. Never have, never will. This again is not the season. Still rolling with Arkansas here, just because, truthfully, I don't trust Purdue. Texas isn't that good, and I very much don't trust Arizona. So Arkansas is your last team standing there. Let's move on to the South. Things kind of took a turn on Sunday. You lost your number one seed in Florida, and your final four teams in the South playing in Houston on Thursday night. It is going to be Nebraska going up against Iowa, and then, of course, the Houston Cougars taking on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Jade Castro, I'll go to you first here. Your thoughts here on the South. Obviously, in our preview show, we talked about how Houston basically is going to have home court advantage. Not so sure about that now, given what we saw. Well, what Nebraska did on Sunday, especially, where that was a home game for them against Vanderbilt. And you also have, Illinois, who always travels well. And you have Iowa, who is real wild card here. Haven't been to a second weekend since 1999. And this may be a disadvantage for Houston at this point.
Yeah, Houston fans they'll show up, but that place is going to be rated by Nebraska fans. I think they're already on Twitter. They're already saying they're planning to take over that place, so that should be fun. But yeah, Iowa Nebraska is going to be is the game I'm looking forward to the most. This is a rivalry dating back to basically football. You got the Heroes game. They're going to do a ceremonial punt off, I heard. But no, should be a lot of fun. Iowa in the spot, they're just not very fun to watch. Like Bennett Spurts will just chuck up 12 threes a game, and they'll just find ways to win. But I got Nebraska in this spot though. What a game against Vanderbilt. In and out away from Vanderbilt advancing, but they'll have the home court advantage. Rivalry game. I think, Iowa beat them at their place, and then Nebraska, ended up pulling away at the end there. That game went to overtime. So two really competitive games. I lean Nebraska in the spot. I just think their toughness is bigger. I'm a huge Frager fan, even though him and Fears do not like each other. I think Frager is the true freshman. He's kind of the heart and soul of that team. Him and Rink Mass, but Frager is kind of like that guy, that the ultimate tough guy, which I love about him. So that'll be a lot of fun. So I got Nebraska in that spot, and then Illinois Houston. In terms of talent, it's gonna be so fun to watch with Keaton Wagler and all the guys I got in Houston. I probably lean Houston this spot. In terms of coaching matchup, give me Kelvin Sampson all day over Underwood. Underwood in the tournament doesn't really do it for me a whole ton. I would take Kelvin Sampson in a heartbeat. This is Houston's region to lose with Florida going down. So I like Houston in this spot, and I'll take Nebraska. But two really fun basketball games are going to be the ones to watch on Thursday night. So
real shocking discovery there that Jada Coster does not trust Brad Underwood, who once let UConn go on a 30-0 run in Elite Eight. That is truly groundbreaking information. Jay Walsh, I will go to you next here. Your thoughts here on the South. Who's heading to Indy next weekend?
Starting off with the Nebraska-Iowa game. This may be the ugliest second weekend game in NCAA tournament history. This is not going to be a fun game to watch, and I'm going to love every second of it. I hope the nation is ready to watch mid-tier Big Ten hoops, because this is just going to be an absolute bloodbath. I'm going to lean Nebraska here just because I still really don't think Iowa's very good. They were able to drag Florida into a spot where Florida is not comfortable just because of the pacing differentials. Obviously, Florida, one of the fastest teams in the country. Iowa, I believe, was the slowest team in the country this year in terms of pace. So they were kind of able to take Florida into a spot where they were not used to being. And once Iowa was able to get a lead, it was really, really hard for Florida to kind of claw back into that game. Nebraska is not going to have the same problem because it's a familiar opponent. They know what they're going in against. I think Nebraska ends up winning this game. I still don't really trust Nebraska. To be honest, I have no idea how that Vanderbilt shot didn't go in. I thought Vanderbilt was going to beat them, but they ended up winning that game. I still don't fully trust them, but I trust them more than Iowa. So I'm going to take them moving on to the Elite Eight here. The second game I think is going to be really interesting because I could see it playing out in a number of ways, and it all depends on how Illinois shoots the ball, which I feel like that's always kind of how it goes with Brad Underwood Illinois teams. But this team, I believe, led the nation in offensive efficiency this year, number one offense in the sport, going up against routinely one of the best defenses in the sport. Obviously, that's kind of Houston's calling card is their defense. They're a very good offensive team as well, but it's kind of offense versus defensive style. I said going into this region that if Illinois was able to get past VCU in that round of 32 game, I thought they would make the Final Four. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to go with Illinois here, just simply because if Illinois is able to hit their shots, I don't know that even Houston's defense can stop them. I don't think Illinois can put that kind of extended run together to potentially win a national championship. But if they are able to have a good shooting night in this game, I don't think Houston can hang with them in terms of a pure just offense versus offense fight. So I'm going to go with Illinois here. And then Illinois versus Nebraska, I'm going to go with Illinois just because, like I said, I don't really trust Nebraska. They're a solid team, but I think Illinois is just better. So probably going to eat my words here, but I'm going to go with Brad Underwood finally getting to the Final Four.
Matt, I'll go to you next here. Who are you taking out of this South Regional? Obviously, it's a Big Ten Invitational plus Houston.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with the Houston-Illinois game because I feel like it's easier for me to break down. I'm going to take Houston over Illinois. It's not even so much that it's a home game because, as I pointed out to you, Nick, about an hour before the show started, Houston got fucked by the fact that maybe the most well-traveled fan base in the entire country, regardless of sport, is put into their region in Nebraska. And considering there's only one session for the weekend, or for that game, for the two games, I should say, on Thursday, one ticket gets you to both games. Nebraska is going to gobble up those tickets to whatever's available. Iowa fans are going to do a great job of that too. Illinois will do a good job as well, but there's going to be a lot of red coming from Big Red, even though, well, I mean, it's going to be hard to distinguish Nebraska fans from Houston fans, if we're being honest. But hey, besides the point, these two teams met one other time, I believe in the round of 32 a couple years ago in the tournament, and Houston took care of business against Illinois. I feel like Illinois struggles against teams that are really tough. I mean, there's a reason why not even the most talented Tom Izzo teams have beaten Brad Underwood. Even though Illinois is always really good at rebounding, it feels like when they play teams that are just as tough as them, if not more tough, they don't answer the bell very well. And for that reason, I'm taking Houston in that game because it's Kelvin Sampson guard play, even for as young as they are, as reliant they are on freshmen. No reason for them not to win that game Thursday night. I have no idea who to take between Nebraska and Iowa. I was more impressed with the way Iowa played between both games this weekend. I didn't see any of Nebraska's game against Troy, so I can't comment. I know they won by 30. Winning by 30 in the tournament's never easy. I did not think they were the better team on Saturday night against Vanderbilt. Obviously, they found a way to win. They were good enough to win, but I was really impressed with I was more impressed with what I saw from Vanderbilt. And they played twice this year. They split both. I honestly think it's Iowa. I think Iowa's going to win this game. They played really well both games. What Bennett Sturch was 0 for 9 from 3 on Sunday, and they still beat Florida. Like that's insane to me that their best player played as poorly as he did in terms of shooting the basketball, and they still found a way to beat the second or third best team in the country. So from that standpoint, you have to be really excited about Iowa. They're not going to get blown out, in my opinion. Of their losses this year, the only one where they really laid an egg was they got beat up by Purdue pretty bad, but they found a way to keep it close against Michigan. They kept it close against Iowa State on the road, I believe. They kept it close in both games against Nebraska, forcing overtime the one time, beating them the other. They just their style of play lends them to keep staying these tight games. And I'll take Iowa just to edge it out, I think. Actually, fuck. I don't know. I truly don't know who's going to win. It doesn't matter. Houston's winning the second game, truly, because Houston's going to slow it down. Because if they play Iowa, they play the same style, and Houston's just better at it. So give me Houston in that situation. And then if they play Nebraska, they're going to just turn into a slugfest. And once again, Houston's got better players than Nebraska does. So either way, Houston's winning the region. Take it either way. I still haven't made my pick on Iowa and Nebraska. I might not make a pick. So I think I'm just a Ben McCollum fan.
I am also Ben McCollum fan, which is why I am just straight up taking Iowa. Nebraska will travel. That will be a Nebraska home game. Iowa finds a way to win that game. Second game, it's going to be Houston. The fans that are left in that building will be Cougar fans. They'll be fine. I don't trust Brad Underwood because he's just a bad coach in the tournament. Hence, my comment previously about Jay's comment. And Houston still wins this region. It's still going to be a home game for them on Sunday. If they play Nebraska, then maybe it's 50-50. But Houston wins this region. They go to Indianapolis for the second straight time because they were there in 2021. The last time Final Four was in Indianapolis. It would be their second straight year, given that they were in San Antonio last year. Move on to the Midwest Regional in the beautiful city of Chicago, Illinois. Jay DeCoster, are you going to any of these games?
Well, if tickets weren't $500, actually no, because Michigan's in it. Absolutely not. Why would I do that?
Completely understandable. Jay Walsh, is Michigan just running away with this region?
Yes. However, so I said going in that I thought Michigan was going to run through this region, and so far they kind of have. I mean, they haven't really blown away their opponents like they did early in the season, but they've just been kind of taking care of business. With all due respect to Iowa State, because obviously the second half of that game against Kentucky was about as impressive as you can look. I mean, they just absolutely bodied Kentucky in that second half. Kentucky's not very good, and I don't think that they can do that against a team like Michigan. I think of these three teams outside of Michigan, the one that has the best chance to beat Michigan is Alabama, and it's simply because of the style of play. Alabama's going to chuck up 43s in this game. If they're able to make 15 to 20 of them, it could get real interesting. I don't think they're going to, because I think Michigan's defense is too good. But this is a game that Michigan hasn't really played this year in terms of just run and gun. Bama's just going to chuck up threes. You just got to hope they don't go in. And you got to grab rebounds. Michigan's going to handle the rebounds, so I don't see them losing or even really making it a close game if Alabama's shots don't go in. But if Bama starts making threes, there's not a lot Michigan can do. So I think that is going to be a really interesting game. I am going to go with Michigan just because, like I said, I don't necessarily see it happening just simply because of Michigan's defense. But I think of the three teams in this region that are left, I think Alabama is definitely the one that's most capable of giving Michigan a game. In terms of the second game, it's Iowa State. They, like I said, even though Kentucky's bad, they looked really, really impressive in that second half. And it really started without them even draining threes. I mean, they were just beating Kentucky up on the inside, and that opened up the outside shooting for them. So that was really, really impressive to me. I don't think this Tennessee team is very good. Obviously, I mean, Rick Barnes is a solid coach, but we've all seen what he tends to do in March. And I think this Iowa State team is just better. So I'm going to go with Iowa State here. In terms of Michigan, Iowa State, like I said, I don't know that this Iowa State team can stand up to Michigan. So I unfortunately, I have Michigan coming out of this region still.
Matt, I'll go to you next here. Obviously, the bigger game of the two is that Michigan-Alabama game, but I mean, Tennessee-Iowa State is still pretty decent. Who are you taking to get out of this region?
I kind of talked about this in the pre-show about how I hate how this region is laid out because, as Jay Walsh pointed out, Alabama's going to shoot 43s. Will they go in? Who knows? If they would have gone in for St. Louis, we might have been having a different conversation on who was playing this weekend. But unfortunately, the Billikens couldn't hit shots. And when you don't hit shots and Michigan hits, 45% of their threes, you're not going to beat a one seed. Yeah, Michigan shot 11 for 23. That you're not going to beat a one seed when a one seed shoots 48% from deep. So if Alabama can knock down shots, they have a chance. Once again, they play a similar style to Wisconsin, and although Alabama's a smaller team, the fact that they have the athletes of a Power 5 team that Nate Oates has, as much as I hate Nate Oates and despise his program, they play like they do what Wisconsin does, but better in terms of just chucking shots, playing fast, speeding up their opponents, and never being out of a game. So I do like that from a matchup standpoint. I'll take Bama to cover the 10.5 on Friday, but Michigan's probably winning that game because they are very good at keeping teams off the 3-point line. Iowa State has no reason to lose to Tennessee, but I feel like they will because it's Rick Barnes, and he's going to be a terrorist and allow Michigan to have a free path to Indianapolis. Because if Iowa State plays Michigan, I think Iowa State is a very good matchup. They turn you over, as you saw to Kentucky. They put Kentucky into a box, and while I think Michigan would handle it better than a Mark Pope team would, if Michigan turns the ball over, they are very much in trouble. We've seen that the last 2 years, that Michigan can get the turnover bug, and it can get really ugly when they do get that bug. Plus, Iowa State can knock down shots, and they're big enough to play with Michigan in their size. So I think I'm going to say Iowa State gets out of the way. On paper, Iowa State makes it to Indianapolis. Will they actually? Probably not, because Otzelberger can never get it done. And I'm still hesitant to believe that he can do it. And Rick Barnes is also a terrorist. So don't be surprised. I would not be shocked if Michigan's playing in Indy. Not the slightest. They are good enough to go there, of course. But Iowa State, please, don't fuck it up, please. I beg. I beg and I plead. That's all I got.
Jay, I remember last week you said you were considering taking Rick Barnes to get out of this region. Now that we are in the second weekend and Rick Barnes is there, can he do it?
Well, I mean, yeah, you definitely can because, like Matt said, it's TJ Otzelberger and March who can't.
He's never gotten out of the second weekend. He can he? Probably not, Jay.
Yeah, every time I pick Iowa State, they just end up choking. I mean, there's no, like Matt said, there's no reason for Iowa State to lose this game. I'm gonna take Iowa State simply just because they play suffocating defense. I just don't think Tennessee has the talent that like previous years they would be able to compete against them. So as long as they make shots, they'll be fine. And as long as they turn you over like they consistently do, and they're like the best in the country at doing that, they'll be fine. Just Tennessee just doesn't have the talent as in previous years. Also, that Virginia team is not very good. Jakari White, like that guy is mini Charlie V. He's not very good. Virginia is a fraud. The ACC, but I mean, yeah, Tennessee does have a shot, but I'd take Iowa State here. I feel comfortable in that. And then, yeah, like you guys said about Michigan, Alabama. If Alabama can make their shots, yeah, I mean, they can definitely win this game. But are they going to make 15 threes like they did, last year and broke like a tournament record? Probably not. They're not gonna put up 100 on Michigan. They're not even gonna put up 90. Michigan just is very, very good at defending the 3-point line. I just don't see. I don't see it. I think it'll be close early in the second half, but they'll just fade away like Michigan, did like St. Louis did against Michigan. So yeah, I'm pretty confident saying Michigan's going to get to Indy just because just how it's kind of setting up. But Iowa State could be very interesting if they there goes Jim Washington, he's back now. But Iowa State can definitely give them a game if they can turn them over. That'll be very fascinating to watch. And if their guys hit their shots like Milan Momcilovic, who's very, very fun to watch. But yeah, Michigan and Iowa State are my picks.
I do think we end up with Michigan, Iowa State in the Elite Eight. As much as I would like to see Alabama win, I just don't know if they have the firepower this year to get through this Michigan team because got to give them their credit. They do play really good basketball. I don't trust Rick Barnes. I know he's made it to a Final Four once, but that was more than 20 years ago in 2003. It's a different time. I don't think Rick Barnes can beat this Iowa State team. Again, is there much trust in Otzelberger? No, not really, but I still think he's the better coach there. I think Iowa State's the better team. They get through Tennessee. And it's going to be Michigan in the Final Four. But Iowa State has a chance in this game. They really do. They have dominated teams this year at points, and so has Michigan. But Iowa State just isn't something I feel like Michigan has seen this year. And who knows? I may be wrong, and Michigan wins by 30, but I do think Iowa State can give them a game. It will be close, but Michigan ends up pulling away in the end.
Do we know if Jefferson is playing this weekend for Iowa State?
I don't think we know officially yet, but I mean, they made it sound like the plan was for him to play this weekend, but of course they're going to say that. He could have a broken foot, and they're going to say, "Oh, he's going to be questionable."
Fair. It just obviously that's a big piece of it. And I mean, I guess my last thing on Michigan is they look like shit to finish the regular season and in the Big Ten tournament, in my opinion. But they did look really good against St. Louis, so I'm really hoping that didn't change their tide. I hope they go back to playing how they were playing the previous 6 games. Because if they play like they did against St. Louis, now part of it is it was St. Louis who, as much as I love them, they are not a Power 5 team. They are lacking that athleticism, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Michigan figured some of their shit out against St. Louis, which is worrisome.
Well, let's move on. East Regional, the moment people have all been waiting for. St. John's Duke. St. John's in their second weekend since 1999. And then there's some other game. I don't know who's playing in it. Really questionable who is in that game. I'm not really sure. Maybe somebody else can help me here.
You're disgusting.
Are you talking about the game that's in Worcester, Massachusetts on Thursday at 1:30?
Oh, again, who's playing in that? I have no idea. Shout out Worcester. We had a whole segment on them during the selection show. I don't know. Does anybody want to help me here and go through whatever this second game is? Because I'm not 100% sure who's playing in it.
All I know is for the second consecutive game in that side of the region, that refereeing crew is going to need serious therapy after the game. Going from Dan Hurley versus Mick Cronin to Dan Hurley versus Tom Izzo is definitely, I would say that has to be a referee's worst nightmare right there.
If we get Jay Walsh, you're forgetting that there were 77 combined free throws in their exhibition game back in October. So if those 3, I forgot, I believe Gaffney was one of the 3 on that officiating crew because I went back and looked the other day. If that crew is on it again, or if Jeffrey Anderson is anywhere near the Capital One Arena,
baby.
No, I hate Jeffrey Anderson. State always loses when he refs games. When they beat North Dakota State, that was the first time they had won with him on the floor. I swear to God, 3 years. They always lose big games when he refs. So, anyways, yeah, UConn plays Michigan State. Probably a 10:30 tip-off Friday night by the time the game actually starts.
I believe it's as of right now, it's slated for 9:45.
9:45.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna have to give what's Dan Campbell's coffee order? We're gonna have to give one for Bill Raftery. Be able to stay awake for that game.
3 shots of espresso or whatever.
Yeah, 3 shots of espresso, a Trenti, or whatever the fuck he gets of the Pikes Peak coffee. Yeah. I guess I'll just start talking about the region since Nick's just sitting there. Well, give me St. John's money line. Duke looks tired. I know they took over in the second half against TCU. I know Ngangba being back made a big difference, but St. John's is going to bully you for 40 minutes, and I don't think Duke's ready for it. Truly. The ACC didn't get them ready. They looked tired on the stretch at the end of the year. There were times against both Siena and against TCU where Boozer didn't want to take over the game, and Zubi Oyefor, however you say it, is a beast. Truly a beast. I can't believe Kansas chose Hunter Dickinson over that guy. I know he was a freshman when that happened, but what the fuck, Bill Self? Of all the things illegally he's done in his career, that has to be the most illegal thing he has done. Truly. How do you... anyways. Yeah, St. John's is going to come at you, and they're going to win that game. Whether or not they make it to a Final Four, I don't know, but give me the Red Storm plus 6.5 money line against Duke. I do think Michigan State wins on Friday night. It was a tough game in that exhibition. Both teams are different now. I think Michigan State's taken a bigger jump in the last month and a half than Duke and UConn has, in my opinion. And in that exhibition game that State lost on the road, where there were 77 free throw shot between the two teams, Trey Ford, Kurtang shot a combined 1 for 8 from deep. Now, if they do that again, they're not winning. State's just not winning that game on Friday. But if they are to shoot better, like those two have played, I have no reason to believe why State can't win that game and get out of the weekend. I do think Michigan State's winning the region, even though St. John's Michigan State will be a 52-50 final. And either team could win. It'll be a coin flip. It'll be 40 minutes of just punching each other in the face until somebody stops breathing. But I think State gets the better of UConn, historically speaking, slightly. Kevin Ollie excluded. Michigan State is the last team to beat UConn in the second or third weekend of the tournament. Shout out to Earl Summers. And I think it's a reverse of historically. Usually Tom Izzo loses to the elite coaches in March. Usually it's losing to Coach K, or losing to Roy Williams, or losing to Bill Self, losing to I think he's the elite coach in this situation. Dan Hurley, great coach, but I think Dan Hurley is the one who looks up to Tom Izzo in this situation, and I think that's why Tom Izzo wins this game. Similar to how, like, when there's always those interesting matchups where the coaches have relationships with one another. I know Hurley and Izzo have a lot of respect for each other, but I think, obviously, and very much so in terms of age, Izzo is the established coach in this situation, and I think that's the slight advantage for Michigan State. But it'll be a hell of a game, and I can't wait to hear Nick's thoughts at the very end. Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, we're just waiting for Nick to talk. I'll keep this brief. Give me St. John's 6.5, but Duke will win whole way. I do agree that Duke is not going to be ready for St. John's bully ball like they did against Kansas, where that game until the very end was absolutely disgusting. Just turnover after turnover, like sloppy basketball. But that's what St. John's is going to do to you. They're just going to bully you. They're going to play incredible defense and shoot the ball poorly. If St. John's can make a few shots, then yeah, they can win this game. But I just don't see that happening against a much better Duke team. I think Duke can find a way to squeeze away. It'll be a really good game. But two really good games in DC, and then it's going to be really interesting to see how Cooper handles Terrace Reed, who it's kind of non-factor in the first half, but was able to establish himself in the second half. He's a walking double-double almost every night. It's going to be really interesting to see how that matchup goes, but if Clayton can make shots, and if Kurtang can't hit shots, then it's going to be a problem. But I think I'm going to pick UConn. Unfortunately, I don't know. UConn's still very good. Like, they're very good. If Trey Ford can't hit shots like he did against Louisville, Michigan State's going to win. I just don't. Is that sustainable? Probably not. So I'm gonna go UConn, a very close one. It's a very tall task, but two awesome games in DC that Nick could send you the ticket prices. The nice $700 to get in, just send the nosebleeds for two games. Awesome, great stuff, guys. So yeah, two awesome games in DC. Very, very excited to watch on Friday night. So.
Jay Walsh.
All right, I guess I'll jump in here since Nick wants to be very secretive about his not so secret picks here. Going into that first game, Duke St. John's, I very much agree with Jay that I think St. John's covers that 6.5 line, but I think Duke will end up winning the game. I do agree kind of with what's been said so far in that St. John's is going to just bully Duke for the majority of that game. And I think it's going to throw Duke off in the beginning. But at the same time, St. John's is held back by their lack of three-point shooting. And that was very apparent in that Kansas game. They should have won that game by a lot more than they did. I mean, they were missing so many open shots, especially in the first half. I mean, they very easily could have had a double-digit lead in that first half, just simply because Kansas was giving them open shots and they weren't hitting them. So it was what held St. John's back last year, and I think it's going to be the same thing this year. That three-point shooting is going to hold them back, and I think Duke is going to be able to do what's necessary to win the game. I do think, obviously, I mean, it's been referred to as a long shot, but Caleb Foster has not yet outright been ruled out for this weekend. I don't think he's going to play, but they are describing it as an outside chance that he will. So that is something to keep your eye on, particularly if Duke does end up winning this game. It gets to the Elite Eight matchup. But anyway, going on to the second game here.
He broke his foot. There's no way he's playing this weekend.
I saw there are a number of articles out right now that are saying he has an outside chance to play this weekend.
If he is going to come back from a broken foot in less than a month, Michigan State's doctors all need to be shot into the sun. Anyways,
well,
please continue.
I think we've all established that over the last 10 years when with the amount of foot injuries this team goes through on a yearly basis. But anyway, getting back to the UConn Michigan State game. I do think that this is going to be the best game of the weekend across all of the regions. This is going to be a really good game. Two really good teams that kind of like to play similarly. I think I'm glad Matt brought up the 3-point shooting about when talking about the exhibition game earlier, obviously before the season, because MSU shot 4 for 14 in that game, just over 28%, and UConn shot 38% in that game. Those numbers as of late have kind of been flip-flopped. UConn has been struggling a little bit from three over their last 10 games or so, whereas MSU has been red hot. MSU has been, I believe they're over 40% in their last 10 games, and they're up to 37% on the season. So, I mean, this is not the same Michigan State team that played in that game. And another thing that I want to point out in that exhibition game is not only was the three-point shooting not there for MSU in that game, Jackson Kohler only took 5 shots from the field, and he went 1 for 5 and didn't attempt a 3. That is not going to happen again in this game. They are going to make sure that he gets much more involved. And obviously, with the way his three-point shot has developed throughout the year, I think that is definitely going to be one of the kind of keys for them in this game. As we've mentioned, that is the key for MSU in this game, is if they hit their threes, they're going to win the game. If they don't, they're going to lose. I think I trust enough of the players on this team to make their shots that I do think MSU does win this game. Like I said, I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. I think it is going to come right down to the end either way. But I do see MSU pulling out the victory here. And then, as foretold every single season when both of these teams are good, we get a Duke Michigan State matchup in the tournament. I think with Coach K gone, I think those demons are a little bit gone. Plus, as we've mentioned, Duke is not playing their best basketball right now. They're going to be coming fresh off an absolute dogfight against St. John's. They're going to be playing a Michigan State team that ordinarily likes to play that kind of defense as well. They really haven't as of late. They're really going to need to kind of lock in on the defensive end, but they've got the players to do it. As I said, MSU is kind of playing their best ball right now. If they can avoid turnovers in that game, I think MSU can win it. So I'm going to go MSU to make the Final Four here.
All very interesting things have been said here. It's led me to ponder things, the universe, life, what is fate? Folks, fate is the UConn Huskies making the Final Four. And we'll get to what happens then later. brand of basketball, this UConn Husky basketball, has not lost a second or third weekend game since 2009. There are 4 national championship banners behind me from times since then. There is no program better built to win in second and third weekends than this UConn team. Yes, I have been down on this team at points this year. Sure, that may have been at points on Sunday night in general. I have belief in this team. They will have the best player on the floor on Friday night. I mean, we saw it on Friday. Terrace Reed is going to tear this team apart on the boards. This dude has played against Michigan State before. We cannot deny that. The problem when he played against Michigan State was Juwan Howard didn't know how to use him. Folks, Dan Hurley, a lot different than Juwan Howard. Dan Hurley is built for these moments. Look at the runs we've been on since then. We almost beat the national champions last year in the second round. If we would have beat Florida, we're looking at a 4-peat right now, because we would have won the national championship, and we'd already be on the road to Indy. As I'm getting thrown a technical foul, I don't care. Guess what? I don't care. You can double tech me. I don't care. I've been called a lot worse things this week. Me and Jay Walsh went through it in the pre-show. I get it. I'm worse than Hitler. 100% get it. But guess what, folks? My hard-earned money goes into this program. My $100 a year goes into this UConn Husky program. I'm not turning my back against that. I love this team. I love Dan Hurley. Alex Caravan, love him. Terrace Reed, the Grizzly Bear, love him. It's going to be so sweet. Sunday, 7 p.m. The 60 minutes clock is going to start ticking, and I'm just going to be sitting there booking a hotel in Indianapolis because UConn is cutting down the nets at the Capital One Arena as the East Regional champions after they beat St. John's in the 4th round of this series this year. And sure, it splits 2-2. It is what it is. You can't play a 5th game. It's destiny, folks. It's destiny that we got to this point. And I also am realizing I've done this the past 2 weeks, past 2 shows. George Mason and St. Louis. Folks, we might be screwed. But good news, those are both A10 teams. This is Big East basketball. Roll it up. UConn. UConn.
I'm disgusted.
So just not even talking about the rest of what was said. Can we just on that little last bit? Are we positive the Big East was better than the A10 this year?
100%.
Can we also? Well, first off, Terrace Reed isn't an All-American. Jeremy Fears is the best player on the floor on Friday night.
Yeah, until he tries to kick somebody in the balls.
Hey, maybe it'll be Terrace Reed. Take them both out.
You don't have a Cohen Carr. You don't have Jeremy Fears. You don't have the best player or the best athlete on the floor. You don't have the best coach.
Categorically false.
I don't think so. Also, would you like me to point out that UConn this year shot 5 for 26 inside that building and almost lost to Ed Cooley? Those are not the vibes I want going back to DC.
We always struggle with Ed Cooley's Georgetown Hoyas, whether it be in New York City, whether it be in Washington, D.C., Storrs, Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut. Hell, probably even Maui. If we put it on the island, we'd probably struggle there too. Throw it inside a Air Force base in Washington or in Germany, we'd probably struggle there too. Ed Cooley has our number. What can I say?
I appreciate
the
your
phrase "Ed Cooley has our number" coming from a person who literally just about 2 minutes ago said we would be on a 4-peat.
We would be
if you beat Florida in the second round last year, which making the jump
I don't
from
see
second
Georgetown
round
in this
to
bracket,
winning
Jay
the national championship is
There's a
certainly
reason for
something.
that.
But oh my god, I can't get behind this, Nick. I just can't get behind this.
It's disgusting.
Did Michigan State? Tom is a 1-0 all time against Dan Hurley. You mentioned the streak of winning the second and third weekend. You forget to mention who ended or who was the beginning of who allowed that streak to even start. Who was at the game before that streak started?
I mean, I know it was a road game. What can I say?
State's won 2 in a row in this series. People forget State won by 20 in the PK 80. Cavanali. Fraud.
Hey, he's got as many rings as your coach.
That's besides the point.
Wait, I thought they played in the battle for Atlantis.
They did. That happened too. Yeah. Future Spartan head coach Drew Valentine gave State a tougher game in that tournament the day before than UConn did.
Shout out Marcus Bingham.
Facts don't care about your feelings. Yeah, shout out Jaden Aiken's legacy game. That was against Baylor that weekend.
Oh, Gabe Brown.
Wow. The Spartans are coming on Friday night, Nick.
They can come all they want. Come on, bring it. Come and get it.
Is a certain football coach going to be present?
Okay.
Jim Mora.
He's not there anymore.
For good reason.
We got Jason Candle.
Candell or Candle?
Candle.
Want to be careful, man.
Oh boy.
All right. Let's just move on from this.
Spartans
All
are
right.
coming.
We'll wrap it up. I don't have anything else to say. We've said enough. So for Matt Merrifield, Jada Coster, Justin Walsh, myself, Nick Burt, we'll be back here next week previewing the Final Four. Who knows? We may all be going to the Final Four. We may all be losing Final Fours. The Final Four is the friends we made along the way. We'll see. Hey, we might be going to Frozen Fours. Who knows? We'll see where we get from there. So thank you so much for watching this episode of the Merrifield Sportsbook Show. Like I said, back next week. So for Matt, for Jay Walsh, for myself, Nick Burt, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again next week for another episode of the Merrifield Sportsbook Show.